Hello, hello. My name is Jasenia Sanchez. I'm a financial professional. I help people save money and make money. And today we are actually going to be talking to Sabrina Zervos. Did I say it correctly, Sabrina?
Zervos.
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 I was afraid I was going to say it wrong, Zervos. Because this is October's actually Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and she's going to share her personal story with us, and I'll be asking her some questions as well. But I had asked her probably a couple of weeks ago if she would be willing to kind of share her story and her experience and things to help people understand what it's like and to be more aware of the breast cancer. But we'll get more into that. But yes, we were supposed to do this probably 2 weeks ago, but with her crazy busy
Hey,
schedule,
we're here now.
yes, exactly. So she has two sons, one who is an adult, and the other one is, how old is Aiden again? He's
12.
12. Okay. And then a husband, and they live in St. Cloud, Florida, and I'm in Orlando, Florida. So I'm super excited. So I do want you to kind of share like your experience, like how, like just start talking about your story, as far as like how old you were, how did you find out? And
Well, basically started when I was 35 years old. It was just about 3 months before my 36th birthday. And there's no way to put it, but I just kind of had a feeling when I woke up and felt pain in my right breast. So I decided that I had an overwhelming feeling to get it checked. At this point, we really didn't have too much of a family history. We do have my great grandmother who died of ovarian cancer, but we don't know all of the family members like that to know that we really didn't have a very high family history. So with that said, when I went to the doctor, she wasn't very forthcoming to giving me a mammogram. She said I was too young. It couldn't have been cancer because cancer doesn't hurt. She said, she could do one for me if I would like, but she didn't feel concerned enough to do it. Like she would have been okay with me waiting. But I wasn't okay with that. I wanted to hear that it was a no. I wanted to check it. I for some reason, I needed to hear that the outcome or the results were that everything was benign, but that did not happen. So I went in for a mammogram.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did she tell you that cancer doesn't hurt?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There are some of them that say that because technically you don't know you have cancer until you're about at stage 3 or 4. And depending which cancer it is, when it starts to hurt, basically, or when it starts to become something, it's already in the later stages. Usually when you go to stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, you don't always feel something. It's not painful.
Okay.
So technically you're not supposed to feel pain, especially in the beginning. So part of what she was saying is correct.
Okay.
So, but I still couldn't shake the overwhelming feeling to get checked. So sure enough, we went back and forth, and I did not leave until I got a referral to have a mammogram. So I would say the mammogram was about 2 weeks later. So I went to have the mammogram, and at the mammogram place, it was funny because there was other women there. One of them whom I worked with, I didn't really know her, but I worked with her, and she got her results instantly. So sitting there waiting for them to give you your results, but they're not quite giving you your results. They're taking second scans, and that's when you start to worry. Like, why are they not telling me my result? They told her results. She's gone. She got here after me. So why are they not telling me my results? The results are they saw something suspicious, so they want me to have a biopsy. Now, at this point, I didn't know anything about cancer, so I started to Google things like anyone else would. And I found that out of 1 in 4 biopsies, you have cancer. 1 in 4. That didn't quite seem like it was a no. It was more concerning. 1 in 4 is such a small number. So I kind of I worried until I had the biopsy. The biopsy was probably a few days later. In the biopsy, they put you in the same machine that they put a mammogram. So the mammogram is with the 2 plates that come down. Well, they're in the edge of that mammogram, they can put like this gun that they put the needle through to take a sample and a biopsy. It is a little loud when they, pop it. And when they go in, they are scanning you while they are guiding the needle through so that they can get the location that they find that is suspicious that they want to test. So they go in, they find it, they take a sample of it. Then they insert a titanium chip so that they can see changes around that tissue to make sure to see if it grew or anything like that. So you fast forward, in about 3 days, I found out I had cancer. They said stage 0 DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, meaning in situ, in place. Ductal carcinoma is considered stage 0. So you still think maybe it's not a concern, but what people don't understand is even in early stages, they treat it just as strongly and just as harshly as if you had stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So you lose your breast. Some people need chemo, depending on I think now they do something called an onco type test. I never got the onco type test, but based on the numbers, if they're low, you don't need chemo. If they're higher numbers that you can get a recurrence, then they would suggest chemo. So it's a new test that's coming out, which sounds pretty much what it is.
So what did you end up having done? Chemo and radiation, or just radiation?
No, I didn't have either, because at this point I'm stage 0.
Right.
So we did, the issue was, do I get a mastectomy or do I get a lumpectomy?
What? That sounds insane. Okay. So I'm
but
sorry.
the decision wasn't made.
Huh?
No, the decision wasn't made there, because you can do a lumpectomy where they take a portion off, only just a portion, and they clear the margins, and you don't really have to remove anything, just breast tissue.
Right. But I thought you said they treated it like you had stage 3 or stage 4.
2 or stage 1. Yes, because, okay, the way to explain this is all DCIS does not turn into invasive cancer, but all invasive cancer comes from DCIS. Did you understand?
Mm-hmm. That's
so, yeah, so they don't know why or which women it will progress in. Mm-hmm. They only know that all of breast cancer came from DCIS, but not all DCIS can develop into invasive cancer.
Okay.
So then the next level of it was, I was too young to have breast cancer. So why not? At this point, there was like an article that came out with Angelina Jolie where she said that she had the BRCA gene. So it was a big thing that year that she came out. In that time that she came out, that's when they started highly testing for BRCA genes. So they sent me to a genetic counselor and decided maybe I should check because I was so young. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I read and I wanted, so I was happy that they offered it. I went to Weill Cornell in New York City. Amazing hospital. They had a whole team. So I didn't have to go to different doctors. It was all a team. Your breast surgeon, your breast cancer doctor, your oncologist, your plastic surgeon. It's different surgeons in the room.
So wait a minute. You were living in New York at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because you've only been in Florida 4 years. Okay.
Correct. And the cancer was about 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
So yes. So at this point, they have a whole team, so it's great. They do all the work with insurance and all that. Having a team actually helped. It helped that you didn't have to call. It helped that you didn't have to worry about the little parts, the insurance parts, the getting approved parts, because you're going through cancer. Like, I don't care if it's even early stages, you have the thoughts of, what if this is more than what they say it is, which is where I'll get to my next point. So sure enough, 2 weeks later, I went to the genetic counselor. Genetic counselor didn't think I would test positive for the BRCA gene, but I did. I'm BRCA2 positive. What it means to be BRCA1 or BRCA2 is through your lifetime, they give you percentages on how you'll have your cancer. So BRCA1, BRCA2 are slightly different, but for the most part, you're about 80 to a 90% chance of getting breast cancer through your lifetime. So how that works is by age 30, it's only maybe a 20%. By age 30 or 40, maybe 50%. And then it goes up as you age. Correct.
Got it.
So it increases, and through the lifetime by 70, it's about an 87% chance, I think is the correct number.
Wow. And how
So
many
at this
levels
point,
are there in the BRCA? Is
what do
it
you mean,
just
how many levels? There are
usually
only
one and
there
two?
are only two genes,
Oh,
BRCA
okay. So
1,
only two
BRCA
genes.
2.
Got it.
And everybody in the world has the gene. Men, women, we all have the gene. What it means for me to be BRCA positive is I inherited one of my genes that do not work. And it doesn't work and fight off cancer. The role of the BRCA gene is to repair abnormal DNA. Abnormal DNA is what turns into cancer. It's
Right.
really what it is. So
Yeah.
now I have a
Wow.
gene. I have a gene that doesn't deflect it, just like your immune system. Your immune system protects you. Your BRCA gene protects you from abnormal genes, and I am more susceptible.
So, tell us more about the test itself, as far as like, because I know you do a lot of research on everything, even now, currently. I know this is 6 years ago, but things have obviously, I'm sure, have advanced or changed. Is this test that's available to anyone to do? Do they have to have a doctor prescribe it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's you have to see a genetic counselor for it. They don't advise you to do this, but you can do like 23andMe. Some women have found it on 23andMe.
23
But
what?
23andMe, it's a genetic. You can like take like you can test your blood. It's
Right.
also with Ancestry. It's
Yes.
linked with
Okay.
Ancestry, and you can do one or the other. And that one tells you about different illnesses that may be that you might be genetically disposed to, basically.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so you can do it on your own, but they recommend
No,
going.
I did it. I did the recommended one from the doctor, and that one is just a blood test. And they advised because of my age. It's either your age or you have a family history of it. For example, your sister, your mother, your aunt. It has to be a close proximity family for them to test you, or a strong family history. It just doesn't. They just don't offer it. And sometimes you can request it. Some insurances will pay for it.
Okay.
So it depends. You just got to do your research.
Got it.
But I was advised to do it, and I wanted to do it, and it was shocking
So,
knowing that.
let's go back to your decision making now. Either because
That changes
now,
it.
huh?
That changes your decision. Now lympectomy is off the table.
Oh, so you had the test done first before you decided.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Because I wanted all the facts before I decided. Because if I wasn't BRCA positive, maybe I don't have to do a mastectomy.
Right.
Maybe I don't have to go so radical. So it was part of the decision making.
Nice. Okay.
So when I tested positive, that's when I decided I think mastectomy would be a good idea. In the decision making, that wasn't even easy, because the doctors, they have their own way of wanting to do your surgery. They have their mindset on what they want to do, whether, because you have a choice. You have a choice of not putting implants. You have a choice of reconstructing, not reconstructing. And it's different for everyone, because people who have to do radiation might wait to be reconstructed or do it first. It depends. There's so many choices. There are so many choices.
Wow. That's overwhelming, I would imagine. Just the fact that first of all, you had to go through this, and,
at 35.
Yeah. That you got diagnosed with breast cancer, and then trying to decide, about how they were going to handle the surgery for your breast. And
yes.
So how are you feeling at this moment? Because I know for a lot of women, like, our breasts are a huge part of who we are, right?
Yes.
And
it makes us feel beautiful. We're taught from very young that there are, you cover them up. You don't, they're sex objects. You're taught this from a young age, that those are things that you cover up, that men look at. So we connect our breasts with our beauty. We sure do. Some of us connect our breast, our hair. There's certain things that we connect, being woman, being beautiful. Yes. And breast is part of one of them. Of course, very important. People who think it's not as important, and they say things like, they're just breasts, your life is more important. While you are correct, you don't understand the ramifications until you go through it, when it is ripped away from you, when it is not your decision to do it, when it's out of your hands, and it's either life or your breast. So yeah, the decision is easy, and I wouldn't say easy, but you have to make the decision. But no part of it is easy. No part of it. Just because you're sick doesn't mean it's an easier decision to just get your breast
Right.
removed. No.
Yeah.
No, by no means. And imagine how harder it is for the BRCA women who their mother have died at young ages, and they're deciding to do preventative mastectomies, because I know people who have done preventative.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine not being sick and deciding to, it's like you're removing a part of your body.
Mm-hmm.
You're having it removed, and it doesn't feel the same ever again. Never ever again would it ever feel the same. It's not the same feelings.
Did you cry a lot, Sabrina, through that process?
Of course I did. Come on. Even though I joked, I remember a friend.
Yes, because I know you love making jokes, and you're very positive in life.
Oh my God, I had a friend that came over, and I remember I was crying so much over the last few weeks that I was at a point where I didn't want to cry anymore. So a friend came over, and I'm telling her my story, and she's literally like just bawling. And I'm like, you want to have a shot? Because she's like, why are you not bawling? I said, because I cried enough. I don't want to cry right now.
Yeah. I'm done.
So you do go through it. You go through these phases. It's really weird how these phases happen, but they're phases. And nonetheless, everyone has their own journey. This is how my journey fell out, but not everyone has the same journey. Yeah. It depends how you feel. Who's your support? If you have financial difficulties, all of this ties into breast cancer, all of it. Mm-hmm. Not being prepared or being prepared. Luckily, I was at a company that gave me short-term disability. If I needed to be home for 6 months, I got paid. There are companies that offer where you buy in, where it's only about $7 more a month or $7 more paycheck to buy in from 60% to 70%. Well, when you go through this, you don't realize you can get it so young. Mm-hmm. So when you're not prepared, you don't buy into things like this. You don't have life insurance. You don't have any of these prepared. So what do you go and what do you do? It becomes much difficult for a breast cancer or any person with cancer. If I can't work, what am I going to do? Right. Who's going to support me? Where am I going to live? Do you have enough support? It becomes a lot of decisions. It all comes crashing down on you. Yeah. And you have to decide. Thank God for me, I had my husband who was my support system, my children who were my support system. And that was enough. And I had friends who were there for me in ways I never thought I needed until I got it.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
It tells you what your priorities are, I must say, though. Cancer will put your priorities into perspective.
Kind of a little bit like the COVID, right? A little bit. Like the pandemic.
Yes, it can be scary. And it is, because for some people it is deadly. So it's scary nonetheless. Right. Anything you go through, anything that can take your life, anything that is an illness, anything that is sudden, and you feel like, oh my God, I can die, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Or, die too soon. Like, yeah, I know I'm going to die, right? But I'm not planning on dying until I'm 100. That's my goal. I got some time. But then, to get something like that when you're super young, as you were, that's crazy. So, how did your husband handle it? As far as, if you don't mind sharing, you don't have to share. As far as
well, he's more a private person, but he handled it pretty well. He was there to support. The one thing I remember feeling upset about was, how would he look at me again? Like, you'd start to think that you can't look at yourself in the mirror. Like, what people don't understand is you have these big scars. And when you come out the shower every day you are reminded of those scars and what those scars mean to you. What was taken from you from those scars. So if you don't see yourself beautiful, how do you expect anyone else to? Wow. So how would I? I didn't know how he would look at me. I didn't know if he would accept it. Like, and you think, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, he's supposed to because he's your husband.
That's not.
You don't know.
The case. Yeah.
There are stories out there that you don't know. Luckily for me, that it was a good situation. Right. He never looked at me differently. He always looked at me and still looks at me as if I'm his beautiful wife. There's nothing that changed about that, which I think helped me to get where I'm at today, where I'm great. I'm doing well and I feel beautiful. So, and part of that is from him. So
that's so sweet. I love it.
men should understand that they play a vital role in your healing process. They play a vital role of being supportive. You know, I've heard stories or read stories at night, because when you stay up at night, you just Google and Google and Google. You hear the stories, you read the stories, and you hear about men who call their women ugly after breast cancer, or they leave, or they cheat. Do you know what that does to that woman? She's trying to fight for her life, and you just gave her a different level of stress while she was sick that she had to deal with. And I understand how hard it is. So I can't say it was easy for them either. It's just as hard for the men. We forget that the people around us go through it just as much as we go through it.
Right. So speaking of which, what about your kids at this point? I mean, your oldest he was still at home at this point, right? Because I think he's in his early
20s? He was about 16, 17.
Yeah, and then Aiden is
he was about 5, I think. 5. About 4 or 5 years old.
So maybe he didn't really understand it, but how?
He didn't, but he wanted to help. He knew mommy was hurt, or I couldn't walk, or I couldn't move my arms. When you have a mastectomy, you can't wash your hair. You can't brush your teeth. You can't shower on your own. You can't do anything for the first couple of weeks. It is, you don't realize how much, because your chest muscles, your everything is sore. You know, they cut into the chest muscle. They sew the chest muscle to alderm or cadaver skin to attach the rib cage muscle. Or if you decide to reconstruct, if you don't decide to reconstruct, they take everything out. They take the skin out, then they tighten it. So you're affected from your chest through the breast. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Lifting your arms probably takes about 8 weeks. Maybe longer.
I'm sorry?
Maybe longer.
How long was your actual procedure once you went
under?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
3 hours.
3 hours. Wow, that's not bad, right?
That's not bad. It's about 3 hours. I don't think it was 4. I think it was before the 4 hours. But it's still, anytime you're under for more than an hour, you feel it on your body. It's hard on your body when you wake up.
Yeah. Wow. And how did your oldest son respond to it?
He responded well as well. We didn't have a relationship before cancer. I think this actually brought us closer.
Wow.
So he came to the house and he helped me. He helped me when my husband had to go back to work, get out of bed, get my lunch, help me eat, help me move. Because the important role is you have to move around, because you can get blood clots after being put under. So you have to move. How do you get in and out of bed? How do you walk? So you need help with everything. You literally need help with everything. And you don't realize how immobile you are until you can't move. Right. So he actually stepped up and helped me.
Yeah, and that must be a really, because I know you're like a powerhouse woman.
I don't like people to see me hurting, no.
No, exactly. And being so vulnerable and relying on other people. That must have been.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard when you're used to being, doing things yourself, cleaning your house, something as simple as that, washing your hair, something as simple as that. When a friend came to wash my hair, it meant more to me than I ever thought it would. I didn't know how much I needed that. For her to come wash my hair, blow it out for me, I couldn't do anything.
Wow.
So it's hard when you're used to being or doing things on your own. To let other people do it for you. When you're used to doing things, you're not used to waiting for people. You're not used to having people wait on you. It's hard when you don't like relying on other people. It makes you realize who is there for you, who isn't there for you.
Right. So you're home now for 8 weeks, you said, is the recovery process?
They say 8 weeks, but it's not really 8 weeks. It depends on you. It depends on if you have complications. It depends if you're getting reconstructed. Reconstruction takes a while. Like, I didn't even realize. I chose under in the crease fold. My scars are from the crease fold from the middle all the way to the sides. Okay. And that's called a nipple sparing mastectomy. So I get to keep everything looks like me. The scars underneath, you can't really see them as much. And if they do a really good job, it actually looks like you can't see them at all when you're wearing something that covers the scars.
Right.
So they look pretty good. The earlier stage you are, the more options you have for reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do radiation, the more options you have for reconstruction. The smaller you are or the bigger you are also makes a difference. If you're really large in breasts, you may not be able to save your nipples because it's too far from the blood vessels that attach to the chest wall. So your options change with size, your options change with age, with treatment. So your options either get smaller or they're in a large pool. But there's a lot of options now.
Wow. So the reconstruction part for you was in addition to you recovering, right?
Correct. I had what's called expanders put in.
Okay, I've heard of that.
They're temporary. They're before you get your implants. So you have to get them filled and they have to stretch out the muscle from your chest muscle so that you have a pocket that holds the implant up. So I had to get it stretched. And the way you get it stretched is the expanders have a port where they put a needle and they inject, I think, a saline.
Mm-hmm.
And you get different fills. So for every 2 weeks, I got about 50 cc's or 100 cc's. It depends what your body can take. And they don't tell you how tight your chest feels. You can't go to work the next day. For me, I couldn't go to work the next day. The doctor said you could, but there was no way. It was tight. It felt like an elephant was sitting right on your chest.
Wow. So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Were you, because I actually have a friend that went through breast cancer. She still worked while going through all of the treatment. She had the chemo, radiation, all of that. She was working.
I worked. I went back to work and did my fills and went home. I did the same thing.
So you, throughout the process of all of this, you still worked, even though you were getting some disability.
At this moment, okay, see, my thought process was I didn't want to be labeled with disability. I didn't want to be labeled. I felt I'm going to do it. I got this. I can handle it. I didn't need anyone. No one was going to tell me it was going to change me, but it does change you. It changes you. You can't help it. It changes you. Right. So I thought it wasn't going to change me. So I was kind of like in denial in that sense.
A little stubborn, I would say.
I can be. Yes, you are right.
Which could be to your benefit, right? But
sometimes it can. Sometimes it can.
Wow. Okay. So you were working still. And then as far as you had the...
I went back to work, I think 10 weeks after, and then I did the fills. The fills happen every you can't start the fills until 8 weeks later. Your stitching has to heal because they don't want to stretch it and then the stitching pops open. Mm-hmm. So you have to heal first. So 6 to 8 weeks. And then 4 weeks after that. So every 2 weeks after about 10 weeks, I had to get a fill. And the fill took about 3 months because every 2 weeks, that means only twice a week, depending on how you want your size to be, can take a couple months to get these fills. So at this
point, you're not on any medication throughout, I mean, maybe pain medication after your initial procedure, right?
After 10 weeks, no.
Okay. And after 10 weeks, you're good.
They'll give you a little bit in your fills if you really need it. They'll give you a few, like you can have one for that day to deal with the discomfort and the pain that you get from the fills. Yes, they do supply you with some. At this point, they also wanted me to take what's called tamoxifen, which is like a chemo pill. They say it's not chemo, but it is. But it's more of an estrogen blocker is what the role of this pill is. And it's supposed to stop. What I found out in a pathology report after my surgery was that I had estrogen receptor positive cancer, which means my estrogen feeds the cancer, which will help the cancer grow. So they help you to take these pills to block all of that. Mm-hmm. You go through menopause, there's like I think 30 side effects to that pill. It is nowhere easy. I started talking different. Like I couldn't say window for a window. I would call it something different. I couldn't say certain words. Like, you know what you wanted to say, but your mouth couldn't say it. You get this heavy fog that you can't think. You can't, you're tired. When I say tired, I'm not talking about regular tired. I'm talking about so extremely tired that if you're driving, you're scared because you're going to pull over and you need to sleep. There's no doubt about it. You need to sleep when you need to sleep because you're exhausted. beyond exhausted. So these
Right.
pills have such side effects.
Was
I
there
think
any, was there a point like when they told you had to take this medication? Did you? I mean, obviously, it's still a choice for you, but did you think
yes,
I don't really want to do this? And
I did when I read the side effects. I didn't want to do it. But then you start to feel like if you get cancer again, it's going to be your fault because you didn't take this pill.
wow, yeah,
So
hmm,
how do you not take the pill? But at
yeah,
the same token, it was different for me. I was BRCA positive, so that meant something different. Not only did it meant 80 to 90% chance of breast cancer, it meant 30 to 40% chance of ovarian cancer.
wow, okay,
So the gene was the factor in a lot of my decisions.
yeah, right. That's huge.
Exactly. Like you're faced with a decision. Do you take the power into your own hands? And you don't, like, do you do a preventative and maybe never get cancer? Because remember, once you get cancer, it is no longer your decision. The decision's made for you because you have cancer. What else decision are you, like, you're going to say don't? I mean, some people can say that and take a whole natural approach. So it's up to you in your journey. You can take a full natural approach and never do any of these treatments. And there are stories out there that'll tell you they healed themselves, and I think that's amazing. I believe in both. I believe in healing yourself. I believe in eating right. I believe in having organic. I believe in eating less meat. I'm not a vegan by no means because I like to eat and I enjoy my food, but I try to eat less of it.
Right.
And if I do eat it, it's organic or grass fed, or I try it to be more natural coming from the farm versus chemicals or pesticides on your vegetables or anything like that.
Yeah, that can get expensive, huh?
Oh yeah. But when you think about it, we'll spend all this money to get our hairs done. We'll spend all this money to get our nails done. We
Right.
spend all this money to go out to eat. Why can't we spend it on food that can heal our bodies or help us not to get sick or
Yeah,
give us some kind of preventative
right.
effect? Why not spend the money on it?
Yeah, and I'm actually a huge believer of self-healing as well. However, I also know that there really isn't anything that's 100% guaranteed.
No, not
So,
even these pills. And
but
the pills,
when I talk to people about, like, because I eat mostly plant-based or vegan and things like that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible." Some people have that perspective.
yes.
But my perspective is, I'm I'm doing my job as much as possible to take care of myself. So that way I can prevent as much as I can, right? But I
It
also
makes you feel
know,
good.
yeah, and it makes me feel good, obviously. It makes me get really good skin too, but that's my esthetician as
That's a bonus.
and good genes, right? But no, I think it's so. Why wouldn't I take responsibility for my own self care, right? And a lot of people don't do that, and
Sometimes
unfortunately,
you wait till after you get sick.
right,
Sometimes it takes something serious to happen
right,
for you to realize
exactly.
it.
Yeah, and it's sad, and for some people, it doesn't like you could get sick and still like get back. Like I I don't know if I shared this with you, but one of my friends who did have breast cancer, she went back to doing the same thing after her radiation and her treatments and everything. And
Some can,
a year or
yes.
two, and she went back to doing the same stuff again, and then ended up getting it again. Um, but every like you were
How
saying,
scary, how scary is that? Like, think about that. That's the decision I had to think about when I decided to stop the pill. They wanted me to take it anywhere from 5 to 10 years. I stopped it after a year. I didn't like the side effects. So imagine thinking, if I stop this pill and I get cancer again, would it be my fault? Would
right?
it be my fault that I didn't do anything to change it? I
Hmm.
didn't change anything. I didn't. So imagine how she felt getting it again. It's one thing to go through it one time, but to
Right.
hear it again, to hear those words again. See, hearing those words are shattering, life shattering.
Hmm.
Hearing the words, you have cancer. People don't understand. Your heart drops. You're at the pit of your stomach. You hear cancer and all you think is you're going to die. It don't matter what stage. They could tell you it's nothing. Like, cancer, come on. What do you associate that with? So imagine what she went through,
Yeah.
getting that diagnosis again. How
Hmm.
devastating, how much more devastating that was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah, I have like no words because I haven't, thankfully, have not been there, so I can't say or judge, right? So,
No, you just have to be supportive and do what you can do. And it's hard to be supportive. It's hard to know what they need, what they want. It's hard for them to know what they need and what they want, or what you think you need, or what you think you don't need. You don't really know. It's new territory, you know?
yeah. So tell me a little bit about how your finances got affected, if anything, because I know I also had a friend who was fighting cancer for several years and passed
I
away.
got like I said, I got lucky. I had a husband that worked.
Hmm.
I had a good job that had great benefits. Their medical benefits were great. Once you reached your deductible, they covered everything 100%. Did I owe a few thousand? Quite a few, yeah. Medical is still medical. When they give you your documents back, like when they go through your insurance and they give you like the bill and it says how much the insurance paid and how much you're supposed to pay, I can say those, if I remember correctly, they all tallied to about $400,000. Out of those 400,000, I had to pay a good, I think it was like 25,000.
That's really good because I've heard, like the recent friend I was telling you about, that she passed away in November and December. This was a different friend. Her husband was telling me that they had like $1 million in medical bills. Now I don't know how much of that they were responsible for because he works for FedEx, so I know they have really good health insurance. But I mean,
But
she
the thing is, did you get the best health insurance? Did you get the lower deductible? Did you get the one that has no copay? Did you get the one that covers 100% after? Because when you're young, you take the cheapest insurance possible so you can have more of a paycheck.
right?
Not thinking you're
I see
healthy.
that
You're
all
not
the
going to be
time.
sick.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that all the time.
Right.
I mean, you're thinking, this stuff isn't going to happen to me.
I thought I was in the prime of my life. Well, why would I think I was getting sick? I was working
Yeah,
out. I was in the best shape of my life. And that's why it was weird. All my family was like, you got cancer? Because I'm the one who eats the best. I'm the one who looks for what I eat. I wasn't organic per se. And I was juicing and stuff like that. That I was doing. But I wasn't like organic, nor was I was still eating lots of red meat. That's the one thing I don't do, is I don't eat a lot of red meat at all. I'm lucky if I eat it once or twice a year. I try to stay back and just do things minimally. Everything in moderation is always best, in my opinion, if you don't want to give it up, that is. So moderation.
you obviously you changed your diet, right? Because yeah, tell me, share your story about how you go shopping for organic food with your family, and I find it so funny.
How they always sneaking things in the cart, and
Yeah.
like cookies and things that are not organic, and cakes and honey buns or something like that. We're always like, we get to the front and I'm like, how did this get in the cart? And they're
Right.
like, but come on, we can't eat everything organic. Come on, mom. Come on. Let me eat this and let me eat that. So I'm always joking with them. And the cashier is always like looking at us, and she's laughing because I'm like, but okay, fine, you can get that, but not that. And they're like, but come on. So it's always an issue. But sometimes you give in a little. I mean, again, everything in moderation.
Right, exactly. So I know I had shared with you about life insurance and living benefits probably a while ago. So has it been that long? It's been a year, I think, at least. And
Wow, yes.
I do. I kind of want to go over that a little bit, and then I want us to close because I want you to share something that you really want to, communicate to women in general about breast cancer and getting themselves checked. But before we go there, I do want to share a little bit about the living benefits. So, living benefits are actually through a life insurance product. There's a few companies that offer it, but what it does, it allows you to have access to your death benefit while you're still alive if you have any of these illnesses, critical illness, which could be cancer, heart attack, stroke, things like that. And then you have terminal illness benefit. Um, that means that you only have, the doctor tells you only have 12 months to live, and then you can access the money before you pass away. And then you have chronic illness as well, which is where you can't do two of the activities of daily living. Like you can't feed yourself or go to the bathroom by yourself for typically more than 3 months. So those are your illnesses in general of how you can utilize this benefit. And I know for me personally, my dad had throat cancer, and I know this is something that could have definitely helped us with him financially as far as, the treatment that he got. He didn't have to be in a low income nursing home and get care. He could have been at home getting care had we had access to this. And just to give you kind of an example of this, so this actually talks about, let me see, I think this guy, let's see. I think this guy he got actually diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and was told he had 8 months to live. So he got 12 months. So he had a death benefit, $500,000. And was paying $69.23 a month. And that, of course, was because of his age. So he was 45, right? And it was a term policy, which is still inexpensive, but for his age is a little bit more with having that $500,000. Now, he got diagnosed with it at age 53. And he was actually able to accelerate $920 from this death benefit while he was still alive, and had only paid about $6,600 into it. So do you think that something like this would have been helpful for you when you were going?
Of course.
Great insurance and
of course, because even though 25,000 may not be a lot to other people, but it's still a whole lot. The benefit. Okay, the first year of cancer wasn't so bad because of all the coverage I got. It started getting hard after when the side effects kicked in from the pills, when the side effects started to limit my motion, and I got let go from my job because I couldn't perform my regular functions as I thought I did because of the brain fog and all of that. So when that happens, it would be luckily for me, I had a little bit of 401k, but I had to use it all. Why?
Yeah, that's not the purpose of a 401k, right?
No, it's not. It's the purpose to use it as you get older so you can retire. So if you have death benefits, you don't have to touch your 401k. If you have death benefits, you don't have to sell your home in fear that you might lose it. So you want to get rid of it and make your money on it, pay some of your debt off. If you can't work, which I didn't work for a little while, it becomes a little harder when you have one income. But again, I was lucky enough to have the support I needed. So it could have been worse. But it was still hard. And why not make it easier on yourself? When you feel better, when you're financially ready, does it make your cancer any less? No. But those are things you don't have to worry about. Worrying about paying your mortgage, worry about feeding your children, worry about making sure you have everything you need or your family needs. When you are better prepared, those worries are less. So now you concentrate on healing, not the finances.
Right, exactly. That's very well said. I know, because that can be very stressful when you're going through treatment. And I mean, for some people, they're worried about how they're going to get food on the table, right?
Some of them wasn't even properly insured or not insured because they were so young, thinking that they couldn't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine not being insured and you owe $400,000. And it's more than that. That was only the first 6 months of cancer and reconstruction. A year later, I had to reconstruct again because my implants were falling, and
Wow.
I didn't realize that they were too big for me, and my body couldn't handle it. So I had to get a repair where they had to close my pockets. So my last surgery was only 3 years ago. 3 years ago. My last surgery was 3 years ago.
Okay.
So collectively over the years, it was probably $1 million that came out of not only insurance. And then when you don't have a job, your insurance is not as great. So you're paying high deductibles. In order for a doctor to see you, they want $500 up front. If you're not working, how do you pay $500 up front? If you're comfortable, everything's paid for, but you don't have $500 because you're not working. Right. So if you're comfortable paying all your bills, what about when these hiccups or surprises come up? You have to be prepared for them. It's not easy.
Wow.
So people should prepare, have life insurance, have good health insurance. Just because you're young doesn't mean anything.
So right now you're cancer-free how many years?
6.
6 years. Yay! Congratulations. Keep it going.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying. I don't ever want to hear those words again. I like to believe I do enough to make sure I'm good.
And I know we've talked about life insurance. So for you getting life insurance, I know it's a lot harder too for people who get cancer, who get diagnosed with cancer.
If you don't have life insurance before you get cancer, some policies are so high in price, or you have to wait 10 years being cancer free to even get accepted. So even cancer insurance told me I had to be 10 years free of cancer before I can get life insurance, or within their policy.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge deal, which is one of the reasons why we try to encourage people to get their policies, but the ones with living benefits are great because it's for you as well. Like obviously life insurance is for your survivors, your family that you leave behind, but with living benefits, it does help you as well.
You don't worry about your family. Yes.
Yeah. So, what's one thing or a couple of things that you want to share to actually to suggest to other women about breast cancer awareness?
First and foremost is pay attention to your body. Know your body, so that when you see changes, you know when you need to see the doctor. A lot of times we don't pay attention to our bodies. We're not aware of everything in our bodies, so we don't see the changes fast enough. Our bodies will tell us or will show us certain changes if we just pay attention. And once you pay attention, or you get that feeling, maybe I should get checked. What's the harm in getting checked? You might just no, you're all clear. So let me tell you a story. I know somebody who I haven't seen in family member. I won't say it is because it's her story, so I don't really need to say who she is. But she came to my house not knowing that I had cancer because we didn't see each other for years. Family, it don't matter if you're family, long family, closer in family, life happens when you get older. You move away to different states, you live your life. So I told her, yeah, I had cancer. And she was telling me she was over 40 and never had a mammogram. I was like, no, you better go get a mammogram. And I would harass her, like, 2 months later, did you get your mammogram? And she was like, no. I'm like, well, you need to get the mammogram. And what happened was, from a few months later, she got a mammogram, had to get a biopsy, and she was stage 2.
Wow.
She was stage 2. So you connect that way. And she really was like, wow, if I didn't get checked sooner, what would have happened? Mm-hmm. Or if I would have waited too late. Right. Imagine, my doctor told me not to get the mammogram right then and there. She said I could wait till 40 because lots of health insurance, if you don't have a family history, tell you to wait till 40 to get a mammogram. Right.
Yeah, I
was 35. If I would have waited till 40, what if that would have
5 years?
My lives?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And yeah, I was diagnosed with stage 0 DCIS, but after I had my surgery, a pathology report reveals I had 5 cancers and I was stage 1. That did not show up on mammogram or an MRI or a sonogram. So they didn't even see it because it hides behind tissue. So they didn't even see that I have 5 different cancers. Right. And now that brings me up to stage 1, and I had invasive. I had 0.2 centimeters of invasive cancer. I had invasive ductal carcinoma, which is IDC. I had LCIS, which is larval-carcinoma in situ. I had atypical ductal hypoplasmia. You have to learn all these terminologies. Like, what? So things can hide. So sometimes if you get that feeling, just go get checked. Check yourself. If you Google how to check, there are mobile mammogram places that if you don't have insurance, or if you're going through a hard time at that time, you can Google that, especially in the month of October, they give these free mammograms or mammograms for for $10, $20. You get a
Yes,
mobile
this is
mammogram.
awesome. I
So
love
there's
it.
lots of, don't say, oh, I can't afford it, or what
Right.
if I can't, um, or you're too scared to see what it is. Go get
Yeah,
help. Go
I'll
get
tell
help.
you
Yeah.
really quick, Sabrina. Like I had some like abnormal stuff years ago, probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was scary, obviously, but my gynecologist was awesome. You know, having me go and get myself checked like 3 months later, and even like a year later, just to make sure. 6 months later, I can't remember, but yeah, everything is fine. And then I went 2 years without going to get checked. And then I finally, you know, I was gonna go, and now I'm older, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it's. I mean, I'm sure there.
Life does happen, and in the blink
Yeah,
of an eye, years pass.
it's scary, but it's scary though when you're thinking, okay, what if something comes up, right? I mean, that I'm sure a lot of women are like that,
Getting the test, waiting a couple of days to hear the results. I
right?
think
And it's like,
that's one of my biggest issues. Like every time I go for a test, I'm very uncomfortable. Once you hear you have something or they find something, every single test you get after that, it's almost like you relive it. You're like, oh my God,
yeah,
is
wow,
it this time that it's going to come back? Oh my God. Oh my God. And you get all worked up and then it comes back clear. Yeah. So
yeah,
imagine, even if you're healthy, you're like, oh my God, what if it's, what if it's me? Oh my God. Like, you start to think, what are my results? So
right.
yeah, it's hard. You worry a lot, but you
So,
shouldn't all the time.
how is your family member doing? Is she better? Is she good?
Oh yeah, she's good. She's working. She's doing what she has to do. Living life. She's healthy.
So
She had
she's
a
been cancer
reconstruction.
free.
Fine. She's cancer free.
Okay,
A
that's
few years now.
oh, that's really good. So
And I had
yeah,
another person. So imagine telling. I believe that you should tell your story if you haven't told your story already. For those who have had a cancer, but you have to be ready for it.
yeah,
And
that's true, right?
if it takes 1 year, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 5 years, it's as long as you need. And
Hmm.
when you feel it's your story, you say it when you are ready to say it.
Wow. So going back to what you were talking about, the mammograms, I know here in Orlando, there is Advent Health does provide, and I'll share the link too as well. But they do provide a discount mammogram, $30 for in 30 minutes. I think it's a special kind of mammogram though. But there are free mammograms available through nationalbreastcancer.org. And like you said, the month of October, they do provide either a huge discount or they're free. I know I did that a few years ago. I didn't even realize that that's why I was getting it for free, but that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I kind of want to do like a little reminder to everybody who doesn't know, or maybe you know, it's coming up. It's National No Bra Day on October 13th, which is coming up next week. And I'm really excited about that. It's actually, it helps National No Bra Day. It's to promote breast cancer awareness. It also helps raise money for research. Many women who have survived breast cancer are unable to go without a bra as they need it to hold their prosthetics after surgery, which is really interesting. But I think this is an awesome way for us to support each other as women to not wear a bra on that day in awareness of breast cancer. And do you have any thoughts on that? Are you going to go braless on that
I
day?
don't wear a lot of bras to begin with, but I have to for certain situations. I mean, you go to work,
Right.
you have to wear one. But I wear things without wires or anything like that. So after you've had breast cancer, it's bothersome. So you don't wear a lot of stuff that has wires, or you wear more of a sports bra type of situation. So of course, like I don't like wearing them if I don't have to.
Yeah, I feel the same way too.
Why?
I just want to thank you so much, Sabrina, for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule away from your
Yes, and you
family.
have kids.
Yes,
It's
away
always
from your
busy.
family to talk and share your story. And I'm super excited for people to hear your story and hopefully encourage people, well, especially women, because especially women, but men can get breast cancer too. But it helped to encourage people, women specifically, to go
Go
out,
get checked.
get
Hmm.
checked, and to do their breast self-examination too. I know it's a pain, but it only takes a couple of minutes to do. I
You can
have a
do it in the shower. You
yeah,
can do it in the
I was just
shower. A
gonna
lot
say
of
that
times.
I have a sign in my shower that reminds me. And there's apps that can remind you as well to
Hmm.
do your breast self-examination. But like Sabrina said, if something doesn't feel right, get yourself checked and
Don't
don't
wait. Just check it.
yeah,
Just in case, check it.
and don't always listen to the doctor, right? Like Sabrina, I mean, her doctor wanted her to wait to do a mammogram. That's not always the best thing. And what's the worst that can happen? You spend a little money if your insurance isn't going to pay for it. But it's definitely worth it. So you have that peace of mind, even if it
But
comes.
this is why you have to make sure you have insurance. So they can pay for majority of it. And usually they will. Doctors, if you have that much of a concern or pain, they'll give you something. There are different forms of mammograms. And even if you do have insurance and they don't want to cover it, you can go to other places and get it for free. Never
Right.
wait. Your health or knowing sooner gives you better chances to live and also to have better options. When you wait too late, the options are less. So it's always good if it is something you find it early enough so that you can take care of it and move on with your life.
Right. Thank you so much, Sabrina. I love you. I appreciate you so much.
Bye. I love for you too. You know that.